Phenomenon, Alexa, something like Ramadan. I'm do a lot of praise, yeah, the prophet heart. Peace be upon whoever the message falls upon. Greatest life contain truth, nigga, that's how you records fall. We want war, shake shit, Decepticon. Megatron form when I sound bomb, spit napalm. Whenever the truth is strong, beat, set your mind's gone. Anything they rhyming on instantly becomes a time bomb. A lot of cases long, the shoes, the body gone. Never took a stand, be damned if I would fall. This is real shit, two-stepping with a fly stick, nigga, yeah, that. Because you wish shit from the old homes before it's the ozone. No disrespect on the young and clones go. Promise me feel so from the get we can't go. Stack to the range, so stack a couple.
Man. Blast this is trying to hold this up.
Phenomenon, Alexa, something like Ramadan. I'm do a lot of praise, yeah, the prophet heart. Peace be upon whoever the message falls upon. Greatest life contain truth, nigga, that's how you records fall. We want war, shake shit, Decepticon. Megatron form when I sound bomb, spit napalm. Whenever the truth is strong, beat, set your mind's gone. Anything they rhyming on instantly becomes a time bomb. A lot of cases long, the shoes, the body gone. Never took a stand, be damned if I would fall. This is real shit, two-stepping with a fly stick, nigga, yeah, that. Because you wish shit from the old homes before it's the ozone. No disrespect, ain't one the clones though. Promise before it's over, I'ma get what we came for. Respect to the range, so stack a couple of pesos.
I rock over hard bass. We talking about the ghetto, between the rock and a hard place. Trap house, we cook rock in a hard place. Back out with Desperado's guitar case. This is my environment, clean to be free, you better reach the requirements. Long term, no such thing as retirement. 919 in it, no time limit. I told Hillz, we gotta stay on the hills. A bitch like Red Bottom, she gotta stay in them hills. Yeah, the way we shot him to take longer to heal. Don't play with me, Duke, I'm not just your hill. You know who the God is. Do you know who your God is? Regardless, know the grind never stop. Because I watch too much time on the block and got you. The keyboard, you don't believe it. Nah. You're the man stop lying people. It's really 100 and I won't believe it. You're the keyboard, you don't believe it. You're the man stop lying people. It's 100 and I won't believe it.
No matter where you are, the sun rising the east homes. I knew I call drop gems like peace stones. On the state sunshine, the peace stones. When niggas get bodied over slaves and the pigs they bomb home. I really just five homes. Facts, get the BBS clarity. These niggas rhinestones are safe for the both of us. Nigga, my mind gone. Cool under pressure, no matter the time zone. No clips inside tools if you push me, your mind's gone. Loyalty above all, the slogan I stand on. Wrestle download and zip and unfold. The slowly process, the E was untold. Cerebral unload, food for thought for you assholes. Welcome do the dishes. I ain't the hell to me. It's Sub-Zero, that's free with froze on. Bars like ether, put a hole in my ozone.
I can give you this $50,000, or I can actually show you how to make this every single day. You may know me through Pretty Ricky, be on stage with Omarion, B2K, and Chris Brown and all those guys. But now I make millions of dollars a year.
You heard it.
From anywhere
Welcome to the Soul Show. Welcome to the Soul Show, my people. It's a Christmas Day edition. What you were just listening to was David Hillz and the beloved, rest in peace, Fred the Godson. This is the Soul Show Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy holidays to everyone who is checking in right now. This is a special version of the show, special night. And I'm blessed to have two of the people who are involved with this record. And we're going to talk about some of the things that led up to this beautiful, dope hip hop contribution. And we're going to get a little more perspective on things moving forward. So, without further ado, let me bring on my brother from another mother, the legendary, representing Old Town Sound. Give it up for David Hillz. What's good, homie?
What up? I don't know if I've hit. I'm not a local legend yet, but I'm working on it.
Well, welcome to the Soul Show, my brother. And the brother of the dearly departed, one of the hip-hop legends representing NYC, Fred the Godson, his brother, Russ. Let's give it up one more time.
Yo, what's good, y'all? What's going on, bro? What up, Hillz?
What's on?
Merry Christmas to everybody. Real talk.
Yes.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
It's a long day today. Hope everybody got a little bit of, presents and a little bit of food, but most importantly, got a little bit of peace.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what I was telling Russ earlier? I was talking about it. I said, first and foremost, above everything, one thing 2020 didn't shed light on. It's I don't care if I don't got nothing. I got my health at the moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the greatest thing that
right.
Any of us could have. A gift is nice, but health is better.
Well, there's some circles that would suggest that the health is a gift. So
time is a gift, and if if you have health, you got time.
Right. So the first presents that are given out from the Most High. If you were able to wake up today and breathe another breath, that's the first Santa Claus gift you getting today, boy. You still here.
If you woke up, you got a gift.
Right.
Yes,
2020 has been a Sodom and Gomorrah of sorts to a lot of people, taking everyone out as much as possible. We've lost so many legends. Not even a day ago, we lost my man Ecstasy from Houdini.
That was bad, man. 56
years old, and in some would argue great health, and take it out. So if you're living any kind of life right now, brother, you need probably to just drop to your knees and be thankful and try to spend the rest of that 24 hours doing whatever you need to do to make your mark on this earth, because tomorrow is not promised.
Facts.
Every day is a blessing. Every breath is a blessing.
Right.
Isn't that what we talk about every time we talk about how beautiful and important that next day is? That day, that present day, before to have the next day is we take time for granted. And I know this is a brief moment. The eulogy I gave at my aunt's funeral, the last person in my family that I really cared about, the eulogy was entirely around the time and how we take time for granted, how we don't. When you take time for granted, when you appreciate time and you appreciate the moment, as a society, we operate and function differently. You know what I mean? Like, you won't say certain things if you thought that was the last thing that you'll ever say to another person.
Right.
You will take advantage of opportunities. If that phrase, live for today, plan for tomorrow. We miss out so much because we don't do that. But I just needed to say that because we're on the topic of health and time and whatnot, that to me that's imperative.
Right. And I mean, that's a mouthful, because at the end of the day, once again, you have a lot of people, and I know this years, God don't believe in years, but this one's been tough. For a lot of people, there's plenty of reason to be bitter, plenty of reason to be angry, be
And that's
fearful.
and that's the thing, you know. It's easy to be angry right
Right,
now. That's the easiest thing to bring a negative. You on top of the negative, you know. You want to waste your breath on positivity, good vibes, and energy moving
right,
forward. You know, that's
right,
how you're going to create something good. You know,
right,
a blessing is like a internet algorithm. You know,
Mm.
it bounces off each other. You know,
right,
and goes to the next. You know what I'm saying? So as a whole, we got to come together because nobody's safe.
right, right. You're right on the money with that one, bro. And that can't be talked about enough. How important we are to each other. We're in this war, if you will, uh, and we're all dependent. We're all interconnected with one another, whether we know it, whether we believe it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We are responsible for the things that we put in us and the things that we spot out of our mouths. So we could all have a little bit better, view moving forward. Hopefully, this year has given enough people enough reason to say, you know what, there's no more rules. The rules are over with.
Absolutely.
You have
Absolutely.
the power in you to make the world you want to live in. And if you want to live in a bunch of negativity, continue to talk about it. You want to live in a bunch of world in a world with a bunch of positivity and a bunch of positive people around you, then let's start talking about that. How we can change this paradigm and start making more a united effort to bring hip hop, not only hip hop, but a lot of the black life, a lot of the people of color, a lot of people that are white. Bring all of this to a forefront. We've seen it with the vote this year. Everybody came out. We're seeing it with people reinventing themselves, given that people can no longer perform and do the things that they used to do. It's this whole entire thing has caused us to really look at ourselves and say, "Hey, can I do this now?" And thank God for that. Thank God that there's people out here actually saying, "You know what? We ain't waiting no more. Let's
I
do it
feel
now."
I like what you just said, and I think something that Russ and I have talked about, that Fred, that's pretty much pretty much on topic with where Fred's message was, and Fred, Fred's and our conversations um going towards that. Like, I want to, and I've told Russ this, so this isn't a surprise, but my when I first met Fred, my understanding of Fred was he's a dope punchline rapper that's just fire, and you don't want to step on his toes. But I didn't. Fred had a lot of jewels, and like Fred had a song called Black Power, and
And for the listeners, just so that you know who he's talking about the dearly departed, the beloved, the legendary Fred the Godson. Continue, my brother.
um Fred Fred was a so much of a deeper artist than a lot of people give him credit for, or are aware of. Um, and to for myself, a lot of people tend to think like I might be an standoffish, or I come across as unapproachable or arrogant or so on and so forth. But when I met Fred, like everything that you just went over, these were conversations that we would be having, whether it's text, sitting in the studio, whatnot, whatever. And it's it's necessary because negativity is going to exist, and that's cool and that's fine, but ultimately we get caught up in things. If it doesn't impact your life, then you should leave it alone. But at the same time, if there's negative that you feel like you can impact at some point, then put things into motion that will allow you to make a change at some point also. You know what I mean? Like, you know, on the train, right? They got this, in the airports. They got this shit like you see something, say something. All right. Well, if there's a social issue that you don't like, if you see something, say something. You know what I mean? Run for city council, do something, whatever it may be. But I just want. I know that we're going to talk about the single and we're going to talk about the recording process, but I want people to know above all that if you don't know Fred the Godson's catalog, I suggest you dig in. You know what I mean? Because forget the punchlines, forget the wordplay. There's substance there that is definitely. If I can't give you one other reference point, go look up Fred the Godson's God Power, not God Power, Black Power,
Black Power.
and watch that video, and and you'll get it. But I just needed to say that.
Right, right.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, Hills, you know, based on what you were saying, is just completely true. Fred was a creative genius, at his punchlines and words, but it was not just punchlines and words. It was a creativity of his experience. And if you listen to his music from back then to now, it makes it relative to today because he was ahead of his time based on all the stuff he's been through and what we're going through as a whole for now. That's why some of his music, it'll be 3 4 years ago, but it's relative to now. When we dropped the Black Power, we critiqued some today's events, and based on the words he was saying, it seemed like he dropped it yesterday, you
Right.
know, and he wasn't even here. So that should tell you how long we've come, how far we've come as black people moving forward into this world. We have to empower each other and empower all the positive people that's supporting us, whether they're diverse, Hispanic, white, if they're in our corner and they supporting us, we can all make it happen, you know?
1,000,000%.
Right, and I love what you all kind of touched on. Um, and if I could summarize it, um, basically, what they're saying, Orlando, is that yeah, you know him for the legend that he is, but he's also a human being, and he thinks of things, you you know, that we all think of, because a lot of times what happens to our people, to our artist, we sensationalize them so much that we forget that they're human. We forget that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you hear me talking about this, you hear me talking about that, but there's also a side that, if you're lucky to have a relationship with someone, you can actually be like, man, this is actually one of the most valuable things of this person.
Let me
Like,
let me let me say this. I've been around a lot of artists, a lot of industry people. I've never met somebody. I met Jay Z one time, right? And Jay Z, out of all the artists I met, that was the person. I met him on Reasonable Doubt. I don't want this to be conflated and make it seem like I was kicking it with him at the Rock Nation brunch, and that didn't happen. But I met him during Reasonable Doubt tour, and when I walked away, Nas was my favorite artist. But when I left, we talked for more than a few minutes, and I was like, "That's the smartest nigga I've ever met in my life." And when I met when I met Fred, his 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 intelligence or depth of understanding of things, both socially, globally, and so on, honestly, it surprised me. When we're talking about when you say that Fred was a human being, I've never seen somebody so comfortable in their greatness that they understood. Nigga, I could smoke you on the mic right now if I want to. It's not a problem. But there's no reason for me to treat you like I can smoke you. I'm gonna treat you like a king because I expect to be treated as a king in return.
right,
I've never seen somebody carry that humility. That it's I know it's an oxymoron, but I've never seen somebody carry their arrogance with with that humility. And he was great in that way. You know what I mean? So Fred was definitely one of the humblest people. He's the dopest, most down to earth people I've ever met in the industry.
Right. And for those once again are just joining the show, this is the Sound of Orlando show. My guests are David Hillz and the dearly departed, the beloved Fred the Godson's brother, Russ, has joined the show tonight. We're discussing uh, the importance of treating each other as humans and not as objects or defined by what a person has or doesn't have. Um, you know, you literally gave people an idea that he was not only approachable, but he was a person to be you know used in a way as a mentor to
Pretty much.
gain perspectives, a way of looking at life, and the way of not only treating yourself but treating others. Why is that important, or why should that be important
I'm
in
gonna
hip hop?
That's something that we grew up upon, and a lot of it had to do with our upbringing, our experiences. Because we can't sit up here and say that a person is born to be kind and humble. We are built from our generational background, and sometimes it's a chain and curse that we got to break. But my parents and my siblings and all the love that we got from the neighborhood that we seen growing up. Shout out to 156 and Fox. Shout out to 941 Leggett Ave, the Bronx, South Bronx. You know, we had nothing growing up. I mean, we came from the bottom. And those experiences for me as a kid with Fred, growing up in the shelter, you know, in a two-bedroom apartment with eight of us, this is crazy. How humble can you get than that? And the importance of it with Fred was like, I know I'm nice. This is something I know I was God gifted to do, but he loved family. He loved people that were humble. He would try to do anything he can to help others get to the level because he's been there. You know, there's artists out there that can't get the light and day, or for some of these mainstream artists, or for some of these big legendary artists, and they can be nice with the straight talent, but they get rubbed off because they ain't got a buzz now. Not with Fred. I just put up a DM in this story where somebody asked him, "Yo, can you post my story? How much does it charge?" Fred said, "Nothing, bro. I'm gonna just throw it up." That was in his DM.
That
You know
was
what I'm
that was
saying?
that was him on a regular basis, and that's that's kind of like that is um it really hammers home, or not even hammers home. It connects exactly our first encounter. You know what I mean? Like um when I walked in the studio, I didn't plan on meeting Fred. I planned on going there to specifically talk to heat makers, to arsonists. And when arsonist opened the door, I seen Fred there. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I know who you are, you know what I'm saying? What's up? Boom, cool. And we walked into the A room, and arsonist was like, yo, what is it that you're looking for, whatever. And I was, because I have such a reverence and respect and admiration for arsonist's catalog and the things that he did with Dipset, Wayne, so on and so forth. I was like, well, let me play you a couple joints real quick, and that way you can kind of pick apart what you want to let me hear. You know what I mean? I want to trust the ear a little bit. And right when I said that, Fred knocked on the door. Was like, "Yo, you mind if I sit on your session?" And I was like, "Well, I don't have a session, but yeah, you're more than welcome to." And um, so what ends up happening is my man R. Chris from the Cook Up and Key, my cousin, they did a record for me that I sampled a gospel record and I made it about my mother, and that was the first song we played. And first and foremost, if I didn't tell our Chris or Key this, I'm sorry, but basically I start our Heatmaker starts the record, immediately turns the record off and says who produced that. And if you've been in the industry a little bit, if another producer that's dope cuts off a record and asks you who did this record, off rip you already know it's a dope record.
You already know.
You know what I'm saying? So boom, so to let it fly. And the way I'm sitting, I'm looking at Arsonist, but I can see Fred out of my left side of my peripheral. And the first 4 bars I seen Fred drop his head and close his eyes. And the song finishes, and then I play the record that I did with Freeway. And after it's done, Arsonist is like, "Yo, you're pretty dope." But Fred's like, "Yo, but hold on a second, I got a question." I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "That first song is." He quotes back to me the first 4 bars. He's like, "Is that a real story, or is that real, or is that a story that and you just thought about?" I said, "Bro, that's my life. Like, my family's dead. I got kids. That's my family. My family is the friendships that I maintain." And Fred said, "You fucked my head up. I've been in a great mood all day, and I'm not mad. I'm in this mood, but dudes don't make painful music like that anymore." And he said, "I want you. This is the beginning of me and Fred's relationship, and this is how this single comes about." He said, "I'm gonna tell you the price that I normally charge people, but I want you to listen very closely to the words that come out of my mouth," which is something I say also. So as soon as he said that, I'm like, me and this nigga already on the same page. He said, "Whatever number you throw at me, we are going to do one record because I want to do a record with you."
And you know, on the piggyback off that, I heard the record he's talking about. And let me tell you what happened. He sent me the record. Now, remind you, me and Hillz was talking about for about a week straight, texting back and forth. I was hitting him back, he was hitting me back. So he sends me the record. Once he sent me the record, I ain't called Hillz back for another 4 days. So when Fred said, "Yo, you messed my head up," I see where he was coming from. The pain and the words and the whole music, instrumentals, and the whole concept of that record is so deep, man. It gravitated him to Hillz, and that was just the beginning of something special that they put together.
Right.
Word.
And that's and like I said, you're watching the Sound of Orlando show with my guest tonight, my man David Hillz. If you're from Orlando, if you don't know this guy, you don't live in the city. And the beloved Fred Godson's brother, Russ. And we're talking about all things hip hop and all things human, because both can be true. It is our thing in hip hop to dream and think big and want to be larger than life. But we're all humans at the end of the day. People inspire us. People are giving. Not everybody in this industry is strictly a cash register who only make relationships based on the price tags that people have either in their pocket or homes. When you're talking about people like Fred the Godson, it's just a reminder that hip hop is something you live. And it's not about what necessarily you do or who you know. It's really something you live, and the real recognize real. Talk about some of the things that, and I pose this question to you, Russ. Talk about some of the things that you want your brother to be known for, as we go into a brand new year and continue to hold your brother in remembrance and of his not only his legacy as a hip hop artist, but as, like I said, a human being. Talk about that.
Well, yeah, no doubt. I think I want him to be remembered as one of the greatest, obviously in hip hop with this ball flow, but other than that, besides that, he have his fans, but most of all, I want people to know that this man will take the shirt off his back for any person that he can, that he see at need. He was a family guy, you know, he was loving, funny, and he was a people person. What's good about having this great talent and having his people's talent, I call it, and like they say, the humble king, his personality can fit inside a person's shoes because he been through a lot of walks of life, and we've been taught. I want people to remember him as one of the people in hip hop that never gave up on the culture. He always tried to push, a good concept as far as having substance in your music, and you can be a person who stops and has a conversation with somebody that you call nobody. He'll walk in the street and somebody call his name. He'll actually stop and talk, take a picture, and he'll make it an effort to do that. Sometimes, when you're in the industry and you don't have time, it's understandable, but you know, that 1 second can save somebody's life. And that's the way Fred took it when he woke up, when he got into the studio. He always wanted to make people that he felt like was dope around him better. He put so many people in this game through so many doors. And there's a list of names from producers, from artists, from people who sell merch, from people who have their own market company. He shows love in the community right now. We have Fred the Godson Foundation, and that's another part of his legacy that I want to be remembered too forever. You know, we got this foundation under him, and with his wife Leanne and the supporters and people out there that we collaborated with, we're showing that Fred is community unity and prosperity. He always wanted everyone to eat, and that's what I want people to remember. It's not just the dope bars. It's not just the sarcastic flow. It's not just you know he really cared about people and family, you know, and he sacrificed that, and he put you know this game in his hands, and he sacrificed his life for this game. You know,
Right.
how many times we hear in his music, "I put my life on the line." This is God's call. That's
Right.
one of his bars. You know,
Do you think the hip hop community as a whole, and just literally, the entertainment industry as a whole, should we all be taking COVID-19 as seriously
And I've
as
cursed out a lot of people over COVID, bro. Like, hold on, Russ. I know you was going to jump in, but listen,
go ahead, Rock.
listen, because when Fred and I were having a conversation about the song about my mother, Fred said, "I've never lost what you've lost." Like, I lost my brothers a year and a half apart. I lost my mom. I lost my aunt. I've lost even people that have become super close friends that I consider family. And when Fred passed, Russ and I were talking, and there was like, this was the beginning of them experiencing some of the same like the loss on the level that I had and honestly at a rate faster than mine, really, after the years wrapped up. But when people say COVID's not real, I'm gonna say this with all due respect, respectfully, fuck you, because I watched this man have. go through having asthma attacks and still show up at the studio. This man had high blood pressure every day. I've never seen a person more lively and happy. When people say, "Oh, well, you don't die of COVID, you die of something else." Bitch, my mother died of cancer. My mother's death certificate doesn't say cancer. It says she died of a heart attack brought on by cancer. There is nothing that is more insulting and infuriating and disrespectful than when somebody says we don't need to take it as serious as we do. I'm not like we don't have to all run out the house or not even we don't have to confine ourselves to a house. You can go outside, you can go for a walk. But if you go in a store, oh man, put a mask on. If you're gonna go in the store before they had a mandatory thing, if I looked at a store and I seen too many people in the store, I wait outside the store until other people left the store so I could go inside. COVID is real, and people I've known 3 people now that have passed from COVID. I've known at least 5 people that have been in the hospital because of COVID. If this was any if somebody wasn't on TV screaming how this is a hoax, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It would be a legitimate threat, and it is a legitimate threat. And I've watched myself go through this. Fred was like my brother, and Fred and I had conversations where it's Fred and I conversations weren't music related on a regular basis. Music conversations happen in the studio, but phone calls, texts, whatever, we talked about real shit. You know what I mean? And I feel like Russ understands everything that I'm saying right now. It's almost like insulting for a person to say that because when a person hypothesizes or theorizes that this is some bullshit, we're looking at loss. You know what I'm saying? We're looking at what we know for a fact. We feel like part of our heart's been ripped out. So nah, it's there's people that I care about and I love that I've had to be like, I'm not talking to you. I can't talk to you because you gonna have me in a devil's place right now, fucking with you because I
Right.
lost my 2 blood brothers, and Fred was like, and I lost one of my best friends who was like one of my brothers, Ray. Shout out to Ray, rest in peace.
Rest,
And,
peace, man.
and then Fred, you know what I mean? Like I cried. I'm not talking about Fred was my man, like that's just my man. Like no, I was in a depression over that. You know what I mean? And it's not even about music. It's that's my man. You know what I mean? Like as soon as he said, "Yo, I fuck with you," I was on FaceTime. When he was on FaceTime with his wife, he was like, "Yo, let me introduce you to my man." Then this day he said, "Yo, let's do a project together." He was on FaceTime with 38 Special. Was like, "Yo, Special, this is my man." You know what I mean? So when
Yes,
Russ is
sir.
like, he opened up doors. The day after he said, "Yo, let's do a project together," Special's at the studio. He's like, "Yo, this is my man. I showed you, introduced you to yesterday. This is Fat Joe." You know what I'm saying? Joe, meet my man. You know, Fred was the way I am. It's just Fred was a couple of levels above me, but we operated in that same space of like, yo, open a door for somebody, say something. You believe in somebody's talent, rock with them. But back to COVID, bro, it's infuriating. I can't. I'm sorry because you hit that wrong button with me. As soon as you said COVID, like my brain started to check. I don't even care about the interview. I'm caring about like this is a PSA. Yo, if it's
Right. And that's exactly, um, for the sake of time, that's exactly the response that should be had when it comes to the hip hop community and music entertainment as abroad. Because, you know, for those that aren't taking it seriously, their pockets have taken a complete beating. So even if they don't believe it, their non-believement isn't justified because regardless to how many people don't care about it, it is affecting everyone. It's affecting everyone's ability to come together. It's affecting everyone's ability for commerce. It's affecting us all. What say you, Russ, about should the hip hop community and music in totality industry take COVID-19 seriously?
The question has been answered in multiple ways, and I just want to say you won't know really until it hits home. That's the action that's being portrayed right now. For
Right.
Mm-hmm.
those who don't want to listen,
Right.
when it hit home, it hits different.
Right.
This is real. This is something real, something not to play with. You
Right.
know, I think that based on what's going on now, has pushed back a lot of success and progression. And mainly on this live, shout out to Orlando. I just want to say for people viewed in Orlando right now, I want to talk to the young people out there, the younger ones that think this is just something, oh, I'm bored. I need to go out there, be around a bunch of people. No, man, because you have no idea how something can penetrate within your body and start deteriorating your organs as you living day by day. And then next thing you know, you wake up somewhere you don't want to be. You know, this is something serious. It's not a joke. And if you still continue to try to live your life or for being desperate, guess what? You can't take being lit with you. You can't take having bands with you. You know, all you take is a lot of hurt souls, a lot of things that, you know, you can't take back, and it damages families, man. You know, a person's death can damage families, and it can damage so many things from the financial perspective, from the livelihood perspective, from the friendship perspective. It causes minds to be jealous about certain things when someone is lost, like Fred. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say that nobody never expected this to happen, because all the quotes and all the comments online when Fred passed, I can't believe it. And still, people to this day in my DMs and comments, I still can't believe it. You know, and I just want to say that, you know, think about his kids, his wife,
Yep.
that alpha male for a family. Fred was a glue guy. You know what I'm saying? He was a glue. And sometimes when somebody who's a glue to a family or generation, you know how long it takes to repair that?
Right.
You know, because they just, you can't get around them. You don't want to be experiencing that. The hip hop community don't want to experience that, you
Right.
know? And we got to set an example for our young people, our younger
Right.
people, man. You know what I'm saying? Let them be lit on the internet if they home, but don't be out here, no mask, not washing your hands, not being careful, and then bringing it back to one of your loved ones who has underlying issues. You know what I'm saying?
You hear that, Orlando? Russ and Dave have spoken. Put on a fucking mask.
Put on a fucking mask.
That's it.
We people are really hurting behind this. Let's change the fucking narrative. We have it all within us to do it. Um, just put on a mask, man. Um, it actually takes less time to put on a mask than to argue of why you got to put on a mask. Just put on a mask and keep it moving. Tell your story walking. Um,
For me to
let's
find
get in,
out is rare. But go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, let's get into as time draws a little bit close here. Let's get into this new single.
Yes.
Talk about some of the inspiration uh, that went into it, and working with the legendary Heat Makers, and talk about that experience that brought this single together.
All right. So first, I bust down basically. I broke down how we ended up with Fred on the record, but so the guy that shot the video, shout out to Tanner from Street Heat Films. He just finished shooting Jim Jones' latest video with that actually has Fred on it also. Um he and I have been friends on Facebook for a really long time, and or matter of fact, we go back to Twitter. And I reached out to him because I wanted to do a record with an artist that he had worked with before. And at the same time, I was pretty much like I had just started working on my solo project, and I thought it was done, but I was like, yo, if I'm gonna do this record with this guy that from my man Tanner can plug me in with, I'm maybe let me just try and check out and see if I want to get another record from somebody else. And I had been having a conversation with Arsonist from the Heatmakers on periodically. We would talk maybe every other week or so on IG. And this is kind of funny how like fate or destiny or divine intervention or whatever. I was gonna go to Philly and I was making arrangements to go to Philly. And I was gonna go to Philly for 5 days, and then I was gonna go to New York for like 3 days and come back. And I was talking to one of my partners, AL, and there was something going on. And he's in New York, and he was like, "Yo, we got this issue, da da da." And I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go to New York for 5 days. I'll go back to Philly. I'll go back to Philly for 3 days." And when I got on the airplane, I DM'd Arsonist and I was like, "Yo, I want to touch down. Um, how can I want to link up with you and try to see what's up with the record or something." So cool. So when I land, like I'm texting him this as the plane is about to take off. I land, I tell him, "Yo, I'm here." He said, "Cool, pull up on me at 6." Shout out to Arsenal for being a real one too. You know what I mean? He doesn't he kind of doesn't uh, come across as a friendly person, but he's extremely humble, but and approachable. He's a great person. But so he gave me an address. I pull up to the Diamond District, and I have no idea where the fuck this building is because I forgot that you got multiple floors. So I'm like, I'm at the address, I can't find things. So I'm texting him. He's like, "Oh shit, my bad." When I get in, actually, he told me, he's like, "I didn't even think he was coming because a lot of people just waste my time." So shout out to you for for showing up. So so basically, Fred kind of derailed my program because I went in initially thinking I'm looking for one record. And me and Fred have the conversation. So now in my head, I'm thinking I need two records, right? So I'm like, shit, because I want a record for myself and I want another record for this other collab I might be doing. So there's a there's another record that I've did that's just that I did, and it reminded me of old Dipset record, and I loved Dipset's music. That sound when they was on Rockefeller was crazy. And the second record is what you hear in We Don't Believe You. And as soon as I heard it, I seen Fred's look on his face, and he was kind of just looking at me. And I already know what it is because I already know that he knows that's the record, nigga. That's the one we're gonna do. And I wanted a record that had that kind of feel to it. And I was like, nah, this is it. And so there was another session coming in that night. So we agreed to do the record or whatever. Fred's like, "I'm gonna be here for a minute." He said, "Tell me a verse." So he said, "Tell me a verse." So I spit the first verse to him, and he looked at me, he was like, "All right." And I left him eating dinner, and I get a text from Arsonist, and he was like, "Yo, Fred laid the verse already." I'm like, "What you mean?" He said, "Yo, Fred laid the verse." I said, "All right, send it to me." And I was like, "Oh." And Fred texted me while I'm having the conversation with Arsonist. He was like, "Yo, I laid the verse already. I had to. Your verse was crazy. I loved it. As I was doing my verse, I just wanted to make sure, like, I appreciated where you went. I wasn't even expecting that verse after listening to you and about your mom. Like that just had me somewhere else. So, boom. So we knocked it out. I went in the next day. I did both my verses, and that was it. You know what I mean? It was just, and then didn't end up doing the feature with the other person because they was taking a while to pick the beat. So I was like, "Yo, Fred, let's do it. Do a video." He was like, "All right, bet." Arsonist was like, "Yo, you could use the studio. You were out of towner. You know what I mean? Use the studio. That way, y'all got a spot to shoot it at." And that's what happened. And actually, while we were shooting that video, there's a freestyler Fred and I did that same day also. But what was really Fred likes this moment, but like for me, it was probably my greatest moment was I'm watching. I got a B-roll team video recording. Shout out to Davey Ron. Um, on the B-roll footage out of people picking up the B-roll footage. I got Tanner from Street Heat setting up to shoot the video. I got Arsonist mixing "We Don't Believe You" so we can use it for the video, and I dropped a hook on that, and we're in the B room doing the freestyle. So I'm bouncing back and forth from studio to studio. That was probably like at the moment like my greatest artist moment. But that's how that came about. That's how we got the song. That's how we got the video. And then after we shot it, if you look at the video, there's a scene in it where Fred says something to the effect of like, "Don't play with me, Duke. I'm like Shishki and Hill." And neither one of us had a conversation. Like there was no like this was a freestyle video. You know what I'm saying? So like as far as like there was no treatment for it because it was supposed to be going towards another artist. So me and Fred both kind of like put up like a shooting sign at the same time. And the dude after like when he cut the scene, he was like, "Yo, you and Fred talked about that?" And I was like, "Nah." He was like, "Yo, that's crazy." So now when Fred sees it when it's done, Fred gets to listen to the video, see the video. He already listened to the freestyle, and that's really where the idea of doing the project came from because he was like, "Bro, we're in sync. We think alike. We're doing the same things. Our philosophies are the same. The energy is the same. Yo, let's do a project." I was like, "Okay." He was like, "Come over." I was like, "Come over where?" He said, "Come to my house." I was like, "Oh, this nigga, me and this nigga, cool then. All right, bet." You know what I mean? And from there, that was it.
Well, it's definitely some fire.
Dope,
It's
dope.
definitely needed right now. Music right now is probably a lot of our medicine right now to just get through all of this madness, and we need more of it. So, where can they find not only this new single, but where can they find or expect to look for with the upcoming new year? What can we expect?
Um, right now, the video is up right now. You just debuted it. It will be on all streaming platforms. Probably, I think by Tuesday. It was my fault. There was an error in something I punched in with the distribution company when I was registering it. So that's my apologies, folks. My bad. I found out after they sent me an email that I needed to correct something. So that's kind of also what prompted me to go ahead and drop the video also. So I was like, I mean, I've been telling people something's coming for a minute, and Russ and I was talking. It was like, "Yo, let's start the year off right." Um, there's another project for Fred's project is to follow up from God Level, God's Son. Another one's coming. But so we just felt like the timing was right. We just wanted to put something out, start the year off in a positive direction. The project is called Clash of the Titans. It's 6 songs. Me and Fred did everything. There's right now so far. There's one song on there that Fred got 2 verses. Like Fred wanted to make sure that people understood this isn't Hillz featuring. This is Hillz and Fred.
Coming together. Yep.
Right. This
You
is
know, that's
right.
that's one of the things that I want to piggyback off Hills. Um, the crazy thing about it is that when Hills mentioned that day they did the video, that same exact day, I spoke to Fred on the phone and he told me, "Yo, I'm about to drop this crazy freestyle that day." Because he did do a freestyle on his IG that same day. He shot the video, so he was working that day. And once Hill spoke to me and he talked to me about it, I put two and two together with these conversations, and then boom, the light bulb clicked on about this, right here. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole song, everything just came to clash in me, man. And once I knew who he was working with, and I got the chance to speak to Hills, it all came together. So it was smooth. So that's why, I'm here now, supporting the movement with all this piece of work that he had done. Because to be honest with you, Hills can say, "Yo, it's Hills featuring Fred," but that's not the way he came in with it. You know
Right,
what I'm saying?
right. Well, I want to thank you guys for taking out your Christmas with your families, your holidays. For a lot of us, it's probably the little time we get to kind of forget about everything and just enjoy what's going on. I also want to thank you, Russ, uh, for your brother's contributions to hip hop. Um,
Word.
Fred the Godson gets love out here in Orlando. We love what he does. So definitely salute Hillz. You already know. Um, we we're all anticipating this new project, man. I'm gonna run that on
That's
98.5 Fire.
Oh
Uh,
yes, definitely run the single. But I'm all shot. Hold on, I'm definitely getting some work in with my uncle, Sydney Portier. You and I, well, we
right,
still got some stuff to do. Shout out to Temp also and Midas the Beast, my man Vice. But me and Temp are definitely going to be working on some stuff. But after we finish Clash of the Titans, Fred's project's going to be another Fred project going to be dropping, and then I'm going to get busy on get busy finishing up my solo project. So hopefully next year we'll be doing like 3 or 4 projects besides whatever else. Besides, there might be 2 Fred projects next year. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? You know what I'm saying? But Hills is right. I think once all the traffic and you seen towards the last quarter, a lot of artists was trying to drop albums and projects. So I felt like with all this traffic going on, that gave us the charm and chance to really put together, something right. It's a sensitive topic, because we're talking about someone that's great and that done a lot for hip hop and that was featured on BET, that's featured on MTV, everywhere you can think of. And there's iconic legends in this game today that show love and give it up. You know what
right,
I'm saying? And we talking about someone who has a hefty catalog,
right.
a hefty catalog. Most of his mixtapes are like albums. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to it, y'all need to go to Fred the Godson Music on Instagram, and then y'all need to follow everything Fred the Godson on every platform, because once you listen to his catalog and hear his music, you'll understand where Hillz is coming from with the connection. You'll understand what we're doing moving forward, and all the projects that we got going on right now and that we building up to make. Man, stay tuned, man. Stay tuned, because it's about to get live. It's about to
Again,
be Gordo season.
once again, bro. Salud. God bless y'all, man. I'm like I said, I'm rooting for y'all, man. Continue to put the work in. Your brother will be remembered eternally, brother. We all are
Thank
going
you.
to be better for the stuff that he's done and the stuff that he's got coming out. We're looking forward to it, man. One love to Dave Hillsborough. You know your Old Town representative. So all day long, you are the sound of Orlando.
Yes, sir.
This is Christmas edition, bro. So salute everybody that tuned in. We love y'all, man. Thank you for joining the show, and give it up one more time for David Hillz and my man Russ.
Yeah.
Yes,
Rest
sir.
in peace, Fred the Godson.
God
Thank,
on legacy, baby. God on legacy.
yep. Thank you for joining the Soul Show. Let's go. Let's go, man. Hey, want to thank everybody, man, for joining the show tonight, man. It was a quick show. I know wasn't really expected, but this is what it is. It's Christmas Day, and we still are hip hop even on Christmas. So join us next week. We're going to have some great guests coming through, man. Love all y'all. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. And please forgive quickly. Love deeply. This is one life. We only get one, man. Let's all keep it moving together. Love y'all. Let's go.